In the past years, there has been a real movement towards simplified cameras like the Fujifilm X100 series and the Leica Q series. These cameras offer a sleek design, a minimalistic user experience, only having a fixed prime lens, and also have the ability to extract thousands of dollars from your pocket. I have videos on my channel on the X100V and the Leica Q, and I just came back from a trip where I brought the Fujifilm X100VI as my only camera. I instantly pre-ordered it on release and shelled out €1,800 for it. And looking at the record-breaking pre-order numbers, I'm definitely not the only idiot who jumped at the first opportunity to shell out close to $2,000 for this sexy cuboid. These cameras have become extremely popular on the internet. There are even some people on YouTube that want you to believe that the X100V or the X100VI are the perfect cameras if you want to be a photographer. Not only do I find that to be a very misleading statement, ever since somebody sent me an Instagram DM asking if they should go into debt buying the X100VI, I've felt the need to make this video. Here's the thing, the way I see creativity and the role options play in photography, it's kind of a bell curve. On the x-axis we have time, and on the y-axis the creativity you get through having options, which might sound like a weird measure, and I can guarantee it most definitely is because I made it up, but it'll hopefully make sense in a minute here. If you're starting out with photography, you're at the very beginning of this curve and you usually have very limited options. You might have a basic entry-level DSLR camera you yoinked from somebody in your family, or maybe you just have your phone. When you start taking pictures, you start gaining experience and skills. You learn how your camera and your lens works, and the more you learn, the more options you have of how you can be creative within photography, because you're opening more doors with the skills you're learning. You might learn about shutter speed, buy a tripod, and try long exposure photography. At some point you'll realize that your kit lens is cool and all, but you'll maybe buy a 50mm f1.8 lens and try portrait photography, or get a 70-300 lens and give wildlife photography a shot. Or maybe you get a macro lens and try to take a photo of that weird looking bug in your backyard. You're opening more doors of what kind of photography you can do, and you're gathering more skills on the way, which are in turn also opening more doors. Everything up until the peak of this curve is part of the exploration phase. That exploration continues and fuels your creativity until you reach a peak, which can take years, like at least 5 years and probably closer to 10 years, I would say. And once you reach this peak, learning slows down. You know a lot of stuff, you're already on the far end of the learning curve, you know your gear inside and out, you've explored a bunch of different types of photography. The amount of options you have are at an all-time high. You have a lot of gear, you have a lot of skills, which means you can basically shoot whatever you would want to and have the necessary experience to bring back amazing photos. But the creativity you gain from that is diminishing and starts going downwards from this point on, because there isn't that exploration and giddy curiosity fueling your creativity anymore. And maybe you're even fatigued with the amount of options you have and the amount of gear you can use, or have been carrying everywhere. Seriously, back pain also plays a big role in this transition. This is the point where a lot of photographers start experimenting with simplifying their process to boost creativity again. Maybe it's limiting yourself to one prime lens, or saying, okay, today I'm only going to shoot black and white, or setting yourself the ultimate challenge and just leaving the lens cap on. I've done this kind of limiting a ton. I've literally brought a single camera, a single 50-year-old prime lens, and a single battery on a 10-day trip some months ago, and I loved it. I've dubbed this phase the simplification phase. In this phase of the curve, you're gaining creativity through limitations and setting yourself interesting challenges, because you're no longer getting that creativity through exploration and having more options. So, who are these simplified cameras for? These people at the very last phase, people who have already been through the simplification phase and now want a dedicated camera that offers that experience. Also, you have two options when entering this phase. Either you become a god-tier street photographer that is so good and humble you're basically invisible, or you become a pretentious douchebag. I'm sorry, there's no in between. The X100VI, the Leica Q or Leica M cameras are all very minified cameras. They set a lot of limitations without compromising compromising on image quality, which is perfect for these people who have a lot of photography experience, are used to amazing image quality, and creatively benefit from the simplified experience they offer. And it also helps that they are willing to drop the price of a used car on a camera. That's also the reason why none of these cameras are focusing on price to performance. This section used to be dominated by Leica. They are the kings of selling minimalism to photographers. But now companies like Pixi and Fujifilm are moving into that part of the market, and Fujifilm, for multiple reasons, has explosively introduced a lot of beginner and intermediate photographers into a part of the market aimed at people on the opposite side of the curve. If you're a beginner, don't feel the need to buy the Fujifilm X100VI just because every YouTube reviewer, including me, loves this camera. Because chances are they're all in this camp on the very end of the curve. Of course, everything I'm saying doesn't mean no beginner would like this camera. I bet there are a bunch of beginner and intermediate photographers that would love this camera and the experience it offers. But I want you to evaluate in what stage of your photography journey you are. Are you already at the end of this curve where everything feels a bit stale? That's where you can justify spending a frankly ludicrous amount of money on a X100VI or a Leica. If you're being honest with yourself and you're not at that point yet, embrace the exploration phase. You're in the midst of learning about, in my opinion, the best hobby in the world. And to be honest, I missed that phase. And that's also the reason why I threw myself into analog photography a couple of years ago, because it gave me the opportunity to explore my favorite hobby from almost zero again. Would you really benefit from a camera that is designed to limit your options right now? If you buy a camera like this too early, you're basically flattening the curve early and imposing an upper limit on the exploration you can do. And I feel like a lot of the people who buy one and say it's not for me subconsciously realized they are not in a phase yet where they gain creativity through limitations. Also, there's no rush. These types of cameras are gonna be there waiting for you a couple of years down the line. They're gonna be even better than they are now, and the models from today are gonna be half the price on the used market. If you have that money laying around, maybe spend it on exploring and learning instead of on a camera that limits the exploring you can do. Do something that allows you to open a new door. I don't know, you could buy a course and learn something new, or buy a lens that opens a new door, or buy some Lightroom presets and try a new editing style. Shameless plug, you could buy my presets and support me so I can continue making videos, because there's no way any company is sponsoring this rant. Or to be honest, the best use of that money is probably to go on a photography trip. Nothing improves your photography more than just having amazing things to photograph in front of your camera. There is a reason people love these cameras. They are amazing, they are fun, they look way too good. But the fact is, those people likely are at the very end of this curve. If you're not there too, don't fall for the simplification of photography and embrace the exploration phase. Or just do what you want, it's your money, and I might just be talking out of my ass. Thanks for coming to my weird bootleg TED Talk. Also, I made a video 2 weeks ago that's basically just a short film about a trip to Switzerland with the X100V. That video was an insane amount of work, so it would mean the world to me if you, went to check that out. Okay, have a good one, and thanks for watching. Bye bye!